Hey there. A few days ago, Nintendo released the Nintendo Switch OLED model. We were all hoping for a Switch Pro or a Switch 2, but it looks like those hopes have been dashed. In this video, I'll be going over the new features of the Nintendo Switch OLED model and how it all ties into what Nintendo's intentions are for the future of the Switch. Without further ado, let's get into the new features. So the first thing, and probably the biggest thing, that Nintendo is focusing on with this new Nintendo Switch is, you guessed it, the OLED screen. This means that the new screen will have a lot more vibrant colors and will just be a more better experience overall when you're using it like outside or watching even movies if you do that on a Nintendo Switch. Hey, I don't judge. Nintendo has put this at the front and center of the device, calling it, well, you guessed it, the Nintendo Switch OLED model. Next up is the new 7-inch screen and the new design-ish. Why do I say ish? Well, that's because it's not really that much different. Yes, there is a new design scheme with black and white, which is pretty cool, but the only real big physical difference I can see other than the colors is the new kickstand, which, yes, is really good and much more functional than the old tiny kickstand, but it's not that different from an old Nintendo Switch, and just looking from it at the front, you most likely wouldn't see a big difference. So the new OLED screen is 7 inches now, which is much bigger than the 6.2 inches found on the original Switch and the tiny 5.5 inches found on the Nintendo Switch Lite. How do people even survive with that? Next up is an interesting one, wired Ethernet support. For the people who have an unstable internet connection or just go to a place where there is no Wi-Fi and only wired internet, well, now you can connect it into the dock, and whenever your Nintendo Switch is in the dock, you'll get full better speeds and you'll be able to download those huge games at much faster rates. Another also interesting one is double the base storage. The Nintendo Switch back in 2017 when it was introduced only came with 32 gigs of base storage. Well, now the Nintendo Switch OLED model comes with 64 gigabytes of storage as the base. While this probably won't matter much if you're using a micro SD card anyways to expand the storage, it is pretty cool that they actually are including a lot more storage than just 32 gigabytes, which is not a lot for 2021. So all those features are amazing and great, but for a person who already has a Switch or a Switch Lite, this isn't really a good buy for them, especially noticing that it is coming at a steep cost of $350, about $50 more than the original Switch cost and $150 more than the Switch Lite. So why did Nintendo create the Switch OLED model? And where does that leave the future Switch Pro that we were all hoping for? Well, I believe Nintendo just created this as a mid-cycle refresh, just to keep things selling during those Christmas times and getting more news coverage. And with this mid-cycle refresh, I believe that they probably won't be able to make a Switch Pro in the next 1 to 2 years, and they'll probably have to move on to the Switch 2 or whatever the next generations of consoles are to compete with the likes of the PS5 and the Xbox Series X and S. Nintendo's intentions is probably more focused on the upcoming generations rather than focusing on making the Nintendo Switch a lot better. The Nintendo Switch OLED model will probably be the last in the lineup of the Nintendo Switch family and will probably be heading into a Switch 2 era or a whole new generation as a whole, likely to hit in 2022 or 2023. So is this next generation of Switch a good buy? If you already have one, no, don't get this. Wait till 2022 or 2023 when Nintendo Switch probably dies out or becomes a Switch 2. And if you don't have a Switch, well, for the price, it's a very good console by all means. But if you can just wait 1 or 2 years more, you could probably get something that's much better. And if you buy it now, you risk having software updates and new games not being supported soon. Well, that's all for the new features and Nintendo's intentions on the Nintendo Switch OLED model and the future of Nintendo. If you liked videos like these, be sure to give a like and go and comment on what I should make my next video about. Hope to see you soon. Bye!